Which of the following is non-Newtonian fluid? Perfect. Pace is the correct choice. Which fluid below can be assumed to be ideal? Nice work. You chose low viscosity, and it is correct. What is uniform motion of a fluid defined as? You got it. Your choice flow in a straight line is right. When a fluid is at rest, the shear stress is.
Correct. 0 is the right answer.
The specific weight of the fluid depends upon. Good thinking. Gravitational acceleration and mass density is the right answer. Fluid mechanics is essential in which field? Well done. Engineering is the right choice. Which is not a characteristic of ideal fluid? Solid response. Frictional work is done is a valid choice. Which of the below is not considered a fluid? Smart move. Ice cubes is an accurate answer. What is the primary function of a manometer? Excellent choice. To measure pressure in a fluid system is the right answer. What is the formula for pressure in a fluid?
Exactly. Pressure equal to force gauge area makes sense, and it is right choice.
Study of the properties of fluids in motion. Well reasoned. Fluid dynamics is the correct choice. What is the principle behind fluid statics? Excellent. Pressure exerted by a fluid at rest is a brilliant choice.
What characterizes laminar flow in a fluid?
Clear logic. Your choice flow in parallel layers with minimal disruption is sound and 100% true. Newton's law of viscosity depends upon the. Bravo. Shear stress and rate of strain is the answer. Venturimeter is a device used to measure. Valid point. Velocity of the fluid is true. Calculate the pressure exerted by a fluid.
You're right. Pressure equal to force gauge area is the correct answer.
What is the concept of pressure in fluids? Nicely done. Force exerted by the fluid per unit area is a solid answer. A fluid will be called static fluid when. Great job. Non-zero normal stress and zero shear stress is the accurate answer. A fluid is a substance in the dash phase. Smart pick. Gas and liquid is the correct choice. Pitot tube is used for the measurement of. Good job. Your answer, fluid flow velocity, works well here.
Manometer is a device used for measuring.
Right again. Pressure at any point in a fluid is a valid answer. The amount of matter in a given space is. Nice selection. Density is the correct and valid answer. A fluid having no viscosity is known as. Right choice. Ideal fluid is the best answer. A continuous and homogeneous fluid medium. On track. Continuum is the correct answer. What is the equation for fluid dynamics? Correct response. Navier-Stokes equation is the most accurate answer. The flow of fluid will be laminar when. Great thinking. Both are. And B is the right choice. A substance in the liquid or gas phase. You chose fluid, and it is correct.
What is the purpose of fluid mechanics? Strong choice. Study of liquids and gases is the right answer. What is fluid resistance also known as? Well picked. Drag is the correct answer. This is not a fluid with low viscosity. Sharp thinking. Tar is the right choice. An object completely in fluid is dash. Strong choice. Submerged is the right answer. Which phase of matter is not a fluid? Correct. Solid is the right answer. Fluid pressure is not affected by the. Excellent. Volume of the fluid is a brilliant choice. The normal stress in a fluid at rest? You're right. Pressure is the correct answer. Study of mechanics of fluids at rest. Right choice. Hydrostatics is the best answer. Turbulent flow is characterized by. Smart move. Chaotic and irregular fluid motion is an accurate answer. A streamlined shape is designed to. Smart pick. Minimize fluid resistance is the correct choice. What does dynamic pressure measure? Perfect. The pressure associated with fluid motion is the correct choice. Which one is in a state of failure? You chose fluid, and it is correct. Mention any 3 properties of fluids. Nice selection. Density, specific volume, viscosity is the correct and valid answer. Sugar solution is example of dash. Well picked. Dilatance fluid is the correct answer. Pressure inside fluid depends on. On track. Depth of liquid is the correct answer. Calculate the density of a fluid. Excellent choice. Density equal to mass square volume is the right answer. Laminar flow is characterized by. Nicely done. Smooth and orderly flow of fluid layers is a solid answer. When is a fluid called turbulent? Great job. Reynolds number is greater than 4000 is the accurate answer. An object will sink in a fluid if. Well reasoned. Gravity is stronger than buoyant force is the correct choice. Define fluid Ca3. One fluid is fluid. Solid response. Substance which has the ability to flow is a valid choice. What is positive gauge pressure? Nice work. You chose the pressure above atmospheric pressure, and it is correct. Advanced fluid mechanics is dash. Well done. Application of principles is the right choice. The viscosity of a fluid is dash. Good thinking. A fluid's ability to resist a strain rate is the right answer. Fluid kinematics means study of. Clear logic. Your choice Reynolds experiment is sound and 100% true. Shear stress in static fluid is. Correct response. Always 0 is the most accurate answer. Subject code of fluid mechanics. Valid point. C302 is true. In an ideal fluid viscosity is. Exactly. Zoo makes sense and it is right choice. Which of following is a fluid? Helium is the answer. Which is true about viscosity? Good job. Your answer, internal resistance of fluid to motion, works well here.
A Newtonian fluid is one that
Sharp thinking. Behaves in a predictable manner under stress is the right choice. Study of non-Newtonian fluids. Great thinking. Rheology is the right choice.
What is hydrostatic pressure?
You got it? Your choice, pressure present within a fluid when it's at rest, is right.
What is the following fluid? Right again. Gas or liquid is a valid answer.
Weight density of a fluid is. Good thinking. Here's the right answer. What is a zero shear stress? Clear logic. Your choice, A fluid at rest, is sound and 100% true.
Stokes' law describes the
Good job. Your answer, terminal velocity of an object falling through a fluid, works well here.
A material that flows is a
Well picked. Fluid is the correct answer. Study of fluids in motion.
excellent choice. Hydrodynamics is the right answer.
What is vacuum pressure?
Exactly. The pressure below atmospheric pressure makes sense, and it is right choice.
What is fluid mechanics? Perfect. Study of fluid behavior at rest and in motion is the correct choice. What are drag and lift? Strong choice. Dynamic fluid forces is the right answer. What causes drag force? Right again. Motion through a fluid is a valid answer. What is an ideal fluid? Smart move. All answer is an accurate answer. What is fluid statics? You got it? Your choice, the study of fluids at rest, is right.
A fluid is considered
On track. A gas and a liquid is the correct answer. Not an ideal fluid. Solid response. Compressible is a valid choice. Name of the unit 1. Right choice. Fluid properties and fluid statics is the best answer. What is viscosity? Smart pick. The measure of a fluid's resistance to flow is the correct choice. An ideal fluid is. Great job. Frictionless and incompressible is the accurate answer. What is pressure? Nice selection. A measure of how concentrated forces are is the correct and valid answer. Ideal fluid flow.
Nicely done. Incompressible is a solid answer.
Ideal fluid has.
Great thinking. Zero viscosity is the right choice.
What is KEFT?
Bravo. Computational fluid dynamics is the answer.
How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format. You're right. Contact Narayan Changda is the correct answer.